little recipe. We're gonna be making spicy cold noodles with the 2-ingredient sauce that comes together quicker than it takes water to boil. So spicy cold noodles are a really popular staple in a lot of East Asian countries. The dish that we're gonna be making today reminds me a bit of one of my favorite Chinese takeout dishes, sesame noodles. It has a similar flavor profile and look about it, but a very different, much shorter ingredient list. So our first ingredient is peanut butter. This kind of acts like sesame paste in that it's gonna make our sauce really nutty and creamy and thick. I like using unsweetened because it makes for a more savory sauce overall. It's also what I usually just have around in my fridge. But if all you have is sweetened peanut butter, you can totally go with that. Second ingredient that we're gonna be using is a Korean ingredient that I always have in my fridge. It is kimchi. So kimchi can be made with a lot of vegetables. The most common one is cabbage. So it's a spiced, fermented cabbage. It is salty and funky, and it brings a briny, awesome flavor to whatever it goes on. You can get kimchi at the store really easily, or if you want, you can make it at home. We have a guide to how to make kimchi on Food 52. It's a really fun weekend project. It'll take a few days, but most of that is in active time. And then you have an awesome batch of kimchi in your fridge to put toward a ton of recipes like this one. So I'm just gonna get a pot of water on to boil. Now for this, I'm just gonna lightly salt it. Often with pasta or noodle water, I'll salt it pretty heavily, like a tablespoon of kosher salt to a quart of water. In this case, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter because the sauce itself is bringing a lot of salt via the kimchi. So this will give us a little bit more control if we just do like a couple big pinches. All right, our water is boiling. So I am going to get in our noodles. So what type of noodle you use is really up to you. Whatever long noodle you happen to have in the pantry right now will totally work in this recipe. So in this case for me, that meant some whole wheat spaghetti. Noodles are in. I'm going to set a timer for I'm gonna set a timer for 7 minutes. I'm not sure if they'll be ready then, but I always like to check on the earlier side to make sure that they don't overcook. And while these are boiling, we're gonna whip up our sauce. Because kimchi is a fermented product, it is truly alive. So as the bottle recommends, I'm gonna open it over the sink because sometimes it fizzes like a beer or bubbly. Okay. Cool. So our kimchi is totally alive, and we know that for sure. So depending on the type of kimchi that you buy or make, the pieces might be actually quite large. So because we're measuring out about a cup, roughly chopping them beforehand will help you measure that a little bit evener. Okay, that looks great. Now I'm just gonna transfer it to my measuring cup. Half of this kimchi is gonna go into our sauce. The other half will go on top of the noodles. The reason I like to do that is because you get those flavors incorporated into the sauce, and then as a topping, you get that awesome crunchy texture of the kimchi to stir into the noodles. And now we are going to add the peanut butter. So it is almost equal parts of peanut butter and kimchi. We're doing a third a cup of peanut butter, half a cup of kimchi. It's almost equal by volume. Okay, so these two ingredients are really well combined at this point, but you'll notice that they're very thick. So this is where our next big little ingredient is gonna come in handy. We need about 3 tablespoons of liquid to thin this out into a really lovely sauce. But what that liquid is up to you. So I like to do about half kimchi brine, half water. If you want it really punchy and spicy, you can do all kimchi brine. For something milder, you could do all water. The ratio, it totally is flexible. Okay, perfect. So now our sauce is ready and we can drain our noodles. Our noodles are drained. I am going to rinse them with cold water. That's gonna wash away the excess starch and make sure that our cold noodles don't become too gummy and the sauce can stay nice and loose. Okay, so once our noodles are completely cold to the touch, you don't feel any of that starch on the outside anymore, they're good to go and we can toss them with our sauce. So I'm just going to transfer our sauce to a nice big bowl. So now I'm going to add the noodles to our sauce. So I'm just going to use a pair of tongs and toss together the noodles with the sauce. So if the noodles seem like they're a little bit too thick, at this point you can add a tiny splash of water or a tiny bit of kimchi brine. Just going to add maybe like a teaspoon of water and help it loosen up a little bit. So at this point, this is when we will taste for salt. So keep in mind that we're adding more kimchi on top, but I just want to make sure the sauce is really well seasoned. So I'm going to grab some chopsticks. Okay, we need salt. I'm just going to do a couple pinches. So I'm just gonna serve this up onto a personal bowl, and now I will just add some kimchi on top of this. So these are our 3-ingredient spicy cold noodles with peanut butter and kimchi. If you want to find the recipe, head over to Food 52, and if you want more videos like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know what other recipes you want to see us demo in the comments, and I'll see you next time.